TIFU by accidentally becoming my client's wife's boyfriend. This happened a couple months back, but I saw a skit online that was scarily similar to what actually happened to me IRL. For context, I'm a divorce attorney. Been practicing for about 8 years now, mostly family law stuff. Generally pretty routine work. People want to untangle their lives. I help them do it legally. Everyone moves on. Let's flash back to last March. I took on what seemed like a straightforward dissolution case. Client I'll call Dave. Nice enough guy, been separated from his wife for over a year, just wanted to make it official. Nothing complicated, decent retainer, figured we'd have it wrapped up in a few months. Dave seemed reasonable, not one of those vindictive types trying to burn everything down out of spite. Around the same time, I'd been seeing this woman Sarah for a couple months. Met her at a coffee shop near my office. Really hit it off. She mentioned going through a divorce, but I didn't pry. Not exactly first date conversation, you know? She had a different last name from what was in my client files, so when I ran my conflict checks, nothing flagged. Everything was going great with Sarah. Really great, actually. We were taking things slow, but it was heading in a good direction, until we scheduled the first four-way settlement meeting. I walk into the conference room with Dave, chatting about keeping things amicable, and there's Sarah sitting across the table with her attorney. I literally just stopped mid-sentence. My briefcase slipped right out of my hands and hit the floor with this loud thud. Sarah went completely white. Dave looked back and forth between us for what felt like an eternity, and I could see the exact moment it clicked for him. "Serious right now?" he says, not shouting, but definitely not pleased. Sarah started tearing up. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. I'm standing there feeling like the biggest moron in legal history. Had to immediately excuse myself with Dave. Guy was understandably pissed. Started grilling me. How long had this been going on? Did I know who she was? Was this some kind of setup to screw him over? I'm trying to explain that I'd been dating his wife for a couple months without having any clue who she was. He didn't buy it at first. What kind of lawyer doesn't ask basic questions? He keeps saying. Had to pull out my intake notes to prove the name thing, show him how the conflict check works, basically convince an angry client that I'm incompetent rather than malicious. Took about 20 minutes before he finally believed it was just spectacularly bad luck. Even then, he's shaking his head, muttering about how fucked up this whole situation is. I explained I'd have to withdraw from his case and help him find new counsel. There's no getting around it. I've got a personal relationship with the opposing party, which makes it impossible for me to represent him properly. By the end, he'd calmed down enough to say, "This is the weirdest goddamn thing that's ever happened to me." Still wasn't happy about starting over with a new lawyer, but he understood why it had to happen. The paperwork was a nightmare. Had to file a motion to withdraw since we were already in litigation, transfer all his files, deal with refunding unused fees. Sarah and I didn't speak for 2 weeks after that meeting. We were both mortified. Her attorney spent forever trying to convince himself this wasn't some elaborate scheme. Even though nobody intended for this to happen, it was still my screw-up. Should have had better procedures to catch conflicts like this. Doesn't matter that it was an accident. You mess up the conflict check, you deal with the consequences. Dave texted me a few weeks later, but it wasn't friendly. More like, "Hope you realize this completely my timeline." Can't say I blame him. And just to add insult to injury, my malpractice insurance premium went up when I had to report the conflict. TL, DR. Been dating a woman for months, then unknowingly took her husband's divorce case. Found out during our first settlement meeting when we all ended up in the same room. Had to withdraw from representation. Everyone was pissed. Professional disaster all around. And I was so ashamed of myself.